Oh my. Oh, we haven't even hit the button yet, and there's already a Patrick and a Jamie.
Oh, I hit the button. We're streaming.
No, I mean, but not the button.
Oh yeah, the button. Patrick drew first blood. Good to see you there, brother. Good to see you. I think Patrick's going to join us for the fun run and hopefully for the Alveda King shoot.
That's this Saturday?
No, it's
a week from Saturday.
A week from that, the 18th. It's the Saturday or 19th. It's the Saturday.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're going to shoot Alveda King on the Saturday after Valentine's Day.
Gotcha.
Well, that was the wrong button, and hell no, we're not going running Sergeant Major. Not on these knees with this fat ass. I'm going to go shoot people who are running with a camera. Well, in fairness, with a lot of cameras.
We do the thing?
What's the thing?
Will you do the thing where you move the camera back? It's drifted. I don't want to scoot any closer to you. Thanks, buddy. I just want to be in the shot.
It's just that the camera's way over there. So how you doing?
Man, I'm all right, and I like the thumbnail lately. I like the thumbnails lately. Is what I mean to say. Like the one yesterday was good, and the one this morning was good.
The one yesterday was a bang. It was aggressive.
Yeah, the one yesterday was, you can find us on Rumble and Odyssey and Minds. That was the thumbnail yesterday. You know, in a somewhat related topic, and we could tie it into Black History Month.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
We're going to talk about how Whoopi's a black supremacist and a Holocaust denier?
Yeah.
I was actually planning to do that on the second half of the show and can hopefully cut it up. And...
Oh, my bad.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I figure we open with the Stetler thing because it's Wednesday and, WTF CNN Wednesday. And then The View isn't actually on CNN.
No.
But they still get a great big WTF, and we'll get to that in a minute. So, Stetler. Let's talk about Brian Stetler. There's There's comedy here. And the thing that I want you guys to understand, more emasculating than Jane Fonda pegging Ted Turner.
What? That's not foreplay.
Wow. Anyway, so Stetler doesn't matter. No, that's not fair. He is a well-known name, and he has a platform to speak from. A platform ironically called Reliable Sources. And just for your edification, I want you to go and look sometime at the Reliable Sources and how most of them are anonymous. I would say the least reliable thing you can have in news is an anonymous source.
Yeah, not that they don't have their place for certain types of reporting, but you got to take those with a pinch of salt. For example, when for 4 years we had all these anonymous sources that said, "Oh yeah, this is the time Trump is going down," and every single anonymous source was wrong.
Well, and an anonymous source is sufficient to go find legitimate sources. An anonymous source is not sufficient to state that you know for a metaphysical certitude that a thing is true. Even if you personally know the anonymous source to be utterly reliable, and there's a very, very good reason for that source to remain anonymous, information acquired from an anonymous source is only sufficient to say there's something here worth looking into, and I need to go find non-anonymous sources that can go on the record, right? For example, you got a whistleblower who has clearances, right? Who cannot speak for legal reasons on a topic, and says, and they're taking a big risk, probably even breaking some laws, and they're putting some skin in the game by even discussing a topic. There are so many reasons to protect that source. Not just. There are so many reasons to protect that source, not just to prevent the source from suffering harm, but like this is the reason that things are classified usually, is you're trying to protect a source of information, not the information itself. Normally the information that's classified, when you're talking about clandestine operations, government stuff, all the classified information, we've talked about this on the show a few times. Normally, what you're really protecting by having the information classified is the method or the source, right? Or the agent, the operative that acquired that information, because you don't want to lose that capability. The information itself, the enemy that you took the information from knows the information, right? Now, they don't want other people to know it, but once you know it, and they know you know it, the thing that you want to maintain is the ability to know more things. That's a good reason to protect an anonymous source, to continue to be able to pump that well for information. But you don't have useful, credible, actionable intelligence only on a single anonymous source. Ever. Now, and that doesn't
Brian
mean we
Stelter.
can't pull triggers on it.
Okay, look, fine, but Brian Stelter.
Stetler.
You know what it's like, Psaki? I know you're not
Psaki.
supposed. I know you're not supposed to pronounce the P, but the level of contempt that I have, because it's not.
Saki.
Well, it's not that people like him and her, or her and her. By the way, Sean Stryker. And look, Sean Stryker said earlier in the thread that he's the male version of AOC. He just whines, and she's got more testes than him. As he's probably got more titty than her.
Yeah, he does.
And that's saying something.
He's a chunky monkey. He is a chunky monkey.
But anyhow, Brian Stetler.
So Stetler is getting roasted. CNN's Brian Stetler roasted for complaining about Americans trusting Joe Rogan over his own network. Now, this is why it's worth talking about. We're in the midst of this Joe Rogan controversy, where it's not just Neil Young, right? There are a bunch of now irrelevant artists who are, without taking any risk to their personal fortunes and security, making big statements and virtue signaling about Joe Rogan. And the claims that they're making are that Joe Rogan has spread misinformation that is causing people to die. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, you're liars. Because here's the funny thing. We've been thrown off YouTube. We've been hit with strikes for spreading COVID misinformation. Three times over the last 2 years?
Keep going.
And the funny thing is, literally everything that we've ever said that's gotten us thrown off of YouTube is now being repeated by the mainstream media is now the active narrative. You've got CNN putting up doctors and experts that are saying cloth masks are ineffective. You've got their experts saying that the vaccine, even though they were saying that the vaccine will 100% guarantee that you cannot catch or spread the disease, Rachel Maddow, they are now saying the opposite of that. Well, not quite the opposite. I suppose the opposite of that would be that the vaccine guarantees the disease. But
that's less than true, is what it amounts to.
But that statement was a lot less than true. Turns out, you can still catch and transmit the disease, right? The fact that the definition of vaccine has been changed in major lexicons as a result of the controversy around the effectiveness of this vaccine. See, it looks like, the data right now appears to say that the vaccine is effective, except that it is not effective to the degree that the experts originally said that it would be. They've changed that position repeatedly.
And what's frustrating about that is they could just say, hey, look, the vaccine's pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good.
Right.
And most reasonable adults could accept that. But instead, you want to keep telling me it's absolutely perfect and there's nothing wrong with it. Go get your shot. And I'm like,
if you'd have skipped the mandates and just started with, hey, it's better than nothing, you wouldn't have a whole lot of argument.
Yeah,
right?
but the mandates, and it's perfect when nothing's perfect. Nothing, right? By definition, nothing is perfect, but except for this vaccine, right? It's so perfect, it should come with gold-plated needles.
I don't know. My mother makes this pound cake, and
okay, if we're talking about stuff your mom makes, dude, that guacamole with the roasted corn in it.
You're damn right.
Anyhow, not getting off topic here.
Of course not. My mother's cooking is the only topic that ever matters.
How do you think he got so big?
Have you never had a Hungarian goulash made from bear and venison and moose?
It's the house that Clan McGinnis built.
Hallelujah.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
His Majesty says that he just had a piece. We were going to go over to Mom and Granddad's for dessert last night, but I didn't get home from work until late, and I was wiped out. So we might just be coming to see you for breakfast this morning, folks.
Yeah, I might cheat on my thing just to go have a piece of that pound cake. It's a thing because it is good. So anyhow, but the other thing that I wanted to say is it's not just that. There are so many other facts. Like, remember when you could be a doctor and you could say the word hydroxychloroquine. Like, you could be a doctor, went to medical school, be a doctor, and you could say the word hydroxychloroquine and get thrown off
Of everything.
Of absolutely everything. For a thing that, again, anybody with any sense knew that Donald Trump didn't tell you to drink fish tank cleaner.
Right. And that's, you know what, we need to go back and revisit that story sometime, because the woman that came out and said that her husband died because Donald Trump told them to drink fish bleach, it turns out this was not the first time she tried to murder her husband. This was just the one that worked.
This was just the time she succeeded.
Right? It's pretty clear that this woman who turned out to be a lifelong Democrat voter and donor really just murdered her husband with fish bleach, and then thought that she could parlay that into a big political attack on Donald Trump. And I'm sorry, Sunshine, I don't think that would work out for you.
Okay, but it's good. But with Stetler and Joe Rogan and all of them, okay? We've talked about this before, all right? That there is no such thing as unbiased. Yeah, like Joe. Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, there are several people that you just... One of my favorite memes on this is people under 30. Well, who's Neil Young? People over 30. Is he still alive?
And then
People over 60.
What's a
what
Spotify?
The hell is Spotify?
See, but here's the thing, though. What to address the point, and then we can get to the stupidity of the artists and whatnot. Joe Rogan does a thing. We've talked about it on this show. Okay, there's no such thing as unbiased news, ever. Okay, people can go out of their way. They can. Jamie Dupree used to do a thing where he would refuse to vote, and he would very deliberately give, down to the minute, equal time to the sides of an issue. Mm-hmm. But that was a thing that he had to do very consciously. And I guarantee you, even though Jamie Dupree took all these steps, dude still had a bias. Okay, in the back of his brain, he was still calling balls and strikes. Right? Yeah. It's just a thing that was happening, right? So everybody has a bias. Everybody. The bias starts when the news decides what to report and what not to report. Like, we were biased as soon as we decided we were going to talk about a whole bunch of largely irrelevant media figures today.
Right.
I mean, and
it's this simple. All politics boils down to a moral position. There's the old saw, you can't legislate morality. No, it's the only thing that you do legislate. And so at the very core of it, when you look at an issue, you are either a person that believes it's okay to murder your child on live television. You seen that one yet?
Mm.
Woman goes on, there were just a couple days ago, this woman goes on and she's talking about abortion, and she's pro-choice, and she's talking about how safe the abortion pills are, and then they're live on TV, and she says, for example, I'm actually pregnant right now, and I'm going to take this pill. I'm sorry.
Well, look, for a stunt like that, she doesn't have to actually be pregnant. But look,
you're right. But my point is this: when you look at a piece of news, you are either for or against the thing that's happening. You're either pro-shoplifting or you're against crime, right? You are either for freedom and justice and liberty, or you're a BLM radical terrorist, right? You do not see news without having a position on the outcome. Now, sometimes we agree on that position, right? You see news about a terrible car crash, and most of us are pretty comfortable saying, wow, that terrible and unfortunate. But I guarantee you there's one or two people that are out there like, yeah, well, screw him. He should have done X different, and so he deserved to die. And again, a lot of us can look at that person and agree that they're an asshole. But that doesn't change that they have a bias that goes into their reading of the news.
See, and here's the thing, all right? And I really want to button this up, so I'm going to get straight to it, right? Joe Rogan has more credibility than Brian Stetler for one very important reason. Joe Rogan wears his bias on his sleeve. Joe Rogan is not afraid to be wrong. Joe Rogan is not afraid to admit that he does not know the answer to a question. Like, if you watch Joe Rogan, it's a meme. Hey, Jamie, can you Google that for me? Can you check that? Can you bring that up? And that's a big thing. That gives so much credibility to a guy like Joe Rogan. And we all learned this with Rush Limbaugh, a guy who was wildly partisan. But his facts were right, something ridiculous like 99% of the time. Now, he researched facts in order to service the points he wanted to make on his show, but...
And I'm sure there was some cherry picking going on there.
But he was honest about what his goals were. It's why guys like Tim Pool get so much credibility. And again, Joe Rogan. It's why he's more credible than Brian Stetler. Because here's what's probably never going to happen with Joe Rogan, okay? A 20-year-long sex scandal.
Right.
Right? It's funny how these guys that know everything, and they're objectively telling the truth, and they know what's best for you, also seem to be the ones that have got skeletons in their closet the size of T-Rex skulls.
Well, I mean, they're Flower Children era hippie frickin' Rage Against the Machine type anti-American, anti-capitalist.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to have sex with high school girls.
No, that's exactly what that means.
No, you can be a burnout hippie.
Expect that from them.
You can be a burnout hippie and not engage in the most base forms of debauchery. Those two states can't exist separate from one another.
We're talking about the free love movement. Right? We're talking about people from the free love movement. Steve nailed it on the head. They're narcissists. Right? These guys, people like Neil Young, he was pro free speech right up until somebody disagreed with him. See, I think Neil Young should absolutely be allowed to go out there and say, I think Joe Rogan's wrong. And I even think Spotify, as a private platform, should be able to make a decision on who they do and do not have on their platform. But make no mistake, Neil Young and all these other artists trying to blackmail Spotify into removing Joe Rogan is a tacit admission that these people never cared about your civil rights, your civil liberties, your right to free speech. They only cared about virtue signaling that as long as you agree with their communism, you should be allowed to say whatever you want, as long as whatever you want to say is not what they don't want you to say.
Oh yeah, we've made the joke. You can say whatever you want in North Korea as long as it's pro-communist.
Yeah.
Yikes on several man, it's Black History Month. Can we because it's too funny and
Yeah,
it's related.
yeah.
Your Black History Month segment.
We'll spend 10 minutes on the
making whoopee.
well, okay, and we're actually going to be getting a little bit exclusivity on the early jump on this. Let's see, who do we want to go with? Let's go with CNN. Let's see how CNN covers it. So, Whoopi Goldberg, the moderately amusing comedian / black ethno-supremacist, is now also a Holocaust denier. And she just got thrown off The View for it.
Well, okay, to be fair, she didn't actually deny the Holocaust. She was trying to, as so many liberals... Okay, let me just back up. Basically, Whoopi said the Holocaust wasn't about race. That's what she said, okay, in a nutshell. Now, the point that she was trying to make is a point that a lot of American leftists make, that somehow the racism that exists toward black people in this country is its own special category of terrible racism, and you can't compare it to other atrocities that have happened across history. I disagree with that view, but it is a view, and that is a view that Whoopi Goldberg was trying to express. She did not express it very well, okay? Well, not at all. She did a bad job expressing it. But let me just start with this. Let me make this easy for you, okay?
No, Sean, their ratings will drop from 4 people.
Okay, let me just... So, Whoopi Goldberg said something dumb on The View. Have you seen an episode of The View?
That's The View.
Okay? And...
Oh, God.
But I'll say this, man. I honestly don't think Whoopi Goldberg should be thrown off The View for this, for a couple of reasons. One, the sheer hypocrisy of it. For 4 years solid, the entire time Donald Trump was in office, all of that Nazi imagery, all of that racist imagery. I mean, Donald Trump was basically Hitler just covered in Cheeto dust with a supermodel wife. Like, those were the jokes, okay? And guys like Chris and I were fascists. We were dying for the opportunity to send somebody to gulags. They could never, or concentration camps. They could
We're
never.
Still fascists.
Well, I mean, the point is, though, okay, for years, that was the rhetoric. And that rhetoric was acceptable and believable and all of that on The View. And that's fine. That's great. Let's do it, okay? But now all of a sudden, Whoopi says something stupid, okay? No question about it. But now all of a sudden, Whoopi says something stupid, but it's stupid in the wrong direction. Now she gets in trouble. And it's sort of like when we talked about the thing with Lindsay Ellis, like, when you court that audience, they'll eventually turn on you because you can never maintain the rising level of woke. Eventually it surpasses you. And that's what happened to Whoopi here. But I want to be like really clear about Whoopi Goldberg, all right? Liberal as hell and wrong as hell and a lot of terrible things. But the woman does do a lot of walking the walk, not just talking the talk, okay? Has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on her own money, like feeding and clothing the homeless and stuff like that. Like, guys, you realize you're turning on one of your own that's like true blue, everything, okay? The example, apart from the stupid stuff that comes out of her mouth, but a true blue example of what somebody on your side could be. Oh, but she said something dumb on The View, so we're going to throw her off. And that's the other thing. It's like, okay, for real, people have to be allowed to speak and make mistakes. This could be a teachable moment, right? But what are we being taught? Are we being taught a lesson about the Holocaust itself? Or are we being taught if you say the wrong thing, we're going to smack your hand and send you to your room with no dinner?
No, I tell you what we're learning here is that the left wants to excuse away what was clear racism in the case of
all the stuff with Donald Trump?
Not just that, but in the case of the Holocaust, because what they want, vis-a-vis people like Noam Chomsky, Justin Trudeau, etc., is to take those people who are not vaccinated for whatever reason, even if that reason is that you're allergic to the contents of the vaccine, and starve you to death. This isn't speculation or hyperbole, right? In Australia already, they're saying, we will deliver a tiny little bit of food.
Wow. Okay, look, we'll block that guy in a minute. That's
wow, that block of bullshit just completely sidetracked my train of thought. Let me back up.
The left wants to.
Okay, so
they want to hide actual racism.
They want to hide the actual racism because that's the plan. They can't do things that are racist anymore. So before they can pull another Holocaust, they have to figure out how to convince you that that wasn't racist.
Well, look, and I don't think that's just hyperbole. We've gone so far down the rabbit hole, not just with racism, but with gender is another good one. Like all of these things with, this insanity with, you have to respect my pronouns and whatnot. There are people that are passing around that Matt Walsh interview where he destroys that tranny.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, sorry, folks, it's what happened. Okay,
it's not PC to say tranny. You can't say tranny anymore.
And that's another thing
you should say bitch with a beard.
That's another thing I'm so sick of. A word that was not only acceptable but embraced by the actual trans community for the majority of my life is now suddenly slur and offensive. Okay, and that's
Remember being told that you had to know the difference between a transsexual, a transgender, and a transvestite? That those are three very different things, and that difference mattered.
Anyhow, but the point is all of this shit with the language that people pull, and I was just using the transgender thing as an example, it's waking up a lot of what I would call the normies. I've been interested in politics since I was in high school, and I've been voting ever since I could turn 8. I have been voting ever since I turned 18 and have tried to remain plugged in no matter what was going on in my life and blah, 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 blah. Most people are not like that. Most people, they wake up for a couple of months once every 4 years and then they go back to sleep. And the only thing that are going to penetrate inside their bubble is things like how expensive is gas and milk, which, that's kind of interesting, right? Or, hey,
I like gas and milk.
And hey, did your healthcare premiums double over the past couple of years?
I didn't. I'm a disabled vet.
Yeah, but for a lot of us, our premiums doubled, and then our deductibles themselves doubled, tripled, or even quadrupled. Yep. And it's like, wait a minute, if I had $12,000 laying around, I wouldn't need healthcare.
Right.
Right? So
Well, you wouldn't need health insurance.
Well, look, okay, fine, all right. But the left wants to erase examples of actual bigotry, actual racism, all of it, because now normal people are being able to compare and contrast. It's sort of the same thing that's happening with Joe Rogan and CNN. This would be like, man, I don't feel like Joe Rogan is bullshitting me or talking down to me. I do feel like Brian Stetler is bullshitting me and talking down to me. Also, a lot of perverts work for CNN. So far, 0 perverts work for Joe Rogan. If I got to pick between the two, I'm picking Joe Rogan. That, helps an awful lot.
And we didn't even get to this bit. I'm going to touch it real quick. Let's remember, when you're talking about CNN and the credibility of CNN, we were talking about The View and Whoopi, but these kind of dovetail into each other. When you're talking about the credibility of these organizations, right, you got Whoopi's a Holocaust denier now, right? Oh, it wasn't about race. Okay. And she said some crazy shit, too. But when you're talking about Stetler saying, well, I don't understand why people are listening to Joe Rogan and they don't trust the legitimate newsrooms like CNN.
Yes, you do.
You should understand this because Chris Cuomo told us you can't read it's illegal for you to read WikiLeaks, but it's different for us because we're in the media. Don Lemon told you that a black hole swallowed an Indonesian airplane, right? Mika Brzezinski told you that Donald Trump is evil because he wants to tell you what to think, and that's our job. Direct quotes, right? These are the people we're talking about. CNN doxed a 16-year-old boy for making a funny meme on the internet. CNN tried to bring the fury down on Nick Sandmann, a young man who was assaulted by a methed out Indian who claimed to be a war veteran who never served in combat, and the the Black Hebrew Israelites, which is an ethno-supremacist liberation theology of violent extremists.
A bizarre racist group.
Yeah,
they're weird, man.
So we are at the top of the hour. We're about out of time. I want to share a little something before we move on.
You got to give Sean Stryker the thing because he's just killing it this morning. Whoopi Goldberg versus Brian Stetler. The winner, Golden Corral.
That's right. Because
I love me some Golden
McDonald's
Corral too.
whooped Whoopi's ass, man. And that's actually what I wanted to close on is this clip. Damn it. Go.
With those jeans and decide you don't like them, give them to me. I'm going to make 2 pairs. Oh, right.
Barbara.
Okay, so now we don't like you.
The look on Whoopi's face. Did you not see that yet?
No, Jesus. Hey, look, just to say it really clear, I'm actually kind of on Whoopi's side on this. Not that I agree with her philosophically, but
I kind of am too. I mean, it was a dick move, but it was.
No, I don't just mean with being insulted here. Okay, I mean generally speaking, like
French fries are delicious.
No, seriously. Okay, like she should be allowed to speak. I have said before. You want to know how free you are?
Yeah.
How wrong are you allowed to be?
Yep.
That is directly proportional to the level of your freedom. And Whoopi wasn't allowed to be wrong? And it's like, oh, wait a minute. I don't agree with a damn thing she says, but I think she has the right to say it.
Yep.
And if we're going to start throwing people off the View for saying dumb racist shit, well, I mean, I feel like
the end of the show. I mean, that dumb racist shit is the show. That's what they do.
Well, there's also dumb classist shit and dumb sexist shit.
Oh, and there's dumb commie shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably the umbrella that covers it all.
That's probably fair. I mean, you want to find a real racist? Go read you some Karl Marx.
Right. Anyhow.
Whew. Y'all be safe out there. Little bit of a teaser. I want to talk about the honkening tomorrow because there have been some developments, and
Justin Trudeau has the magic COVID. The magic convenient COVID.
I think the honkening has developed into a total win.
The honking. No, not the honking. Anything but that.
So, y'all look for that tomorrow. We're gonna have we haven't had a lot of total wins since Biden was coronated, but tomorrow.
Total win. Total win. Total win. Total win. Total win. I don't give a rat's ass what the hell you think.
Yeah, tomorrow. Look forward to a little total win action. We love you. Y'all be safe out there, and we'll see you in the morning.